Hegel's Philosophy of Nature, Section 1, Mechanics, paragraph 253. Mechanics treats of A. the completely abstract extrinsicality of space and time, B. individualized extrinsicality and its relation within this abstraction, that is, the finite mechanics of matter and motion, C. matter in the freedom of its implicit notion, that is, the absolute mechanics of free motion. Addition. Self-externality immediately breaks down into two forms. As a positive form, it is space, and then as a negative form, it is time. Matter is the first concrete unity and negation of these abstract moments, and in that it is related to these moments. The moments are related to one another in motion. When this is not an external relation, it gives rise to self-motivated matter, that is, to the absolute unity of matter and motion. Chapter 1. Space and Time. Mathematical Mechanics. A. Space. Paragraph 254. The primary or immediate determination of nature is the abstract universality of its self-externality, its unmediated indifference, that is, space. It is on account of its being self-externality that space constitutes collaterality of a completely ideal nature. As this extrinsicality is still completely abstract, space is simply continuous and is devoid of any determinate difference. Remark. The nature of space has given rise to many theories. I shall only make mention of the Kantian determination of it as a form of sensuous intuition, like time. It is now generally accepted that space must be regarded as a merely subjective element of the representative faculty. If we regard the determinations of the Kantian notion and subjective idealism in this theory, we are left with the correct determination of space as a simple form, that is, an abstraction, the form of immediate externality. It is inadmissible to speak of spatial points as if they constituted the positive element in space, because on account of its lack of difference, space is merely the possibility, not the positiveness of juxtaposition and what is negative, and is therefore simply continuous. The point, which is being for self, is therefore rather the negation of space, a negation which is posited within space. This also resolves the question of the infinitude of space. Space is in general pure quantity, no longer in its merely logical determination, but as an immediate and external being. Consequently, nature begins with quantity and not with quality, because its determination is not a primary abstract and immediate state like logical being. Essentially, it is already internally mediated, externality and otherness. Addition. As it is our procedure to ask how the thought, which has been established as a necessity by means of the notion, looks in the sensuous intuition, The further requirement is that the intuition of space shall correspond to the thought of pure self-externality. Even if we should deceive ourselves in this respect, this would in no way affect the truth of our thought. In the empirical sciences, on the other hand, the opposite procedure is adopted. The empirical intuition of space comes first and is then followed by the thought of space. In order to prove that space accords with our thought, we have to compare the image of space with the determination of our notion. The content of space has nothing to do with space itself, in which various heres are juxtaposed without impinging upon one another. Here is not yet place, it is merely the possibility of place. The heres are completely identical, and this abstract plurality, which has no true interruption and limit, is the precise constitution of externality. Although the heres are also differentiated, their being different is identical with their lack of difference, and the difference is therefore abstract. Space is therefore punctiformity without points, or complete continuity. If one fixes a point, space is both interrupted and simply uninterrupted. The point has significance only insofar as it is spatial, and so external both to itself and to others. The here also has within itself an above, a below, a left, and a right. If anything were no longer external to itself but only to others, it would be a point. But as no here is the last, there can be no such thing. No matter how far away I place a star, I can always go beyond it, for no one has boarded up the universe. This is the complete externality of space. This other of the point is itself just as external to itself, however, and consequently both are undifferentiated and unseparated. Space is still at unity with itself, as its otherness beyond its limit, and it is this unity in extrinsicality which constitutes continuity. The unity of these two moments of discreteness and continuity is the objectively determined notion of space. This notion is, however, only the abstraction of space, which is often regarded as absolute space, and thought to be the truth of space. Relative space is something much higher, however, for it is the determinate space of any given material body, and it is rather its being as material body which constitutes the truth of abstract space. To ask whether space by itself is real, or whether it is only a property of things, is to ask one of the most well-worn of all metaphysical questions. If one says that it is something inherently substantial, then it must resemble a box, which even if there is nothing in it, is still something subsisting within itself. Space is absolutely yielding and utterly devoid of opposition, however, and if something is real, it is necessary that it should be incompatible with something else. One cannot point to a part of space which is space for itself, for space is always filled, and no part of it is separated from that which fills it. It is therefore a non-sensuous sensibility and a sensuous insensibility. The things of nature are in space, and as nature is subject to the condition of externality, space remains the foundation of nature. If one says, as Leibniz did, that space is an order of things which does not concern the noumena, and which has its substrata in things, we assume that if one removes the things which fill space, the spatial relationships between them still persist independently. It may certainly be said that space is an order, for it is of course an external determination, but it is much more than a merely external determination. It is externality itself.